Hello, YouTube. David Brown here with you, and I want to thank you for listening in and just connecting in here. I'm having a little conversation around real estate, or what I like to call conversation over coffee. Okay, coffee is my little thing that I like to do. I drink a lot of coffee and probably, at least a pot a day. I don't know about you, but that's me. But anyway, a little conversation over coffee this morning, and today's content is going to be a little mixture of content when it comes to if you're looking to buy a house or if you're looking to rent, right? But what I'm going to be discussing today is going to be a little mixture of both. So even if you're not in the market to buy, uh, the content here today is going to help you understand perhaps where we are headed towards, okay? Where we're at now and where we're headed towards, okay? So what I've decided to do is over the recent weeks, I've been in conversation with quite a few people. I've received a lot of questions around real estate. And, I picked one of the most common questions that I've been asked, and one question that I've been asked that I feel is very, very relevant and perhaps the most relevant in today's market, right? And I'm going to read those questions and I want to just have conversations around. Okay. That being said, the first question is this, and this is the question I believe is perhaps the most relevant of what's going on in the market today versus where we're headed. Okay. So here's the question. I noticed rates going up recently. How will this affect the market? Now, this question came from someone who is renting and at the same time is looking to potentially buy. And we often make decisions based off of where we're at right now, and we don't tend to look at where are we gonna be, right? So, for example, I'm just going to give an example of renting versus buying. Oh, I can rent for $1,000 a month. Okay. Or if I buy, it's going to be $1,300 a month. And $1,300 a month is a stretch for us. So we sit there and say, well, $1,300 is a lot. Okay. And I'm going to stay renting. But during an inflationary time period, like we've been seeing, all of a sudden, next year, you're at $1,200 renting. You're still at $1,300 home buying. And then the following year, $1,400 a month. Right? So I only bring that up as an example of how we use our current situations to make a decision when sometimes it's important that we kind of forecast out a little bit, right? So anyway, this morning I spoke with a loan officer and he had indicated how just a handful of weeks ago he was pre-approving people as low as 3%, in between 3.75%. And last night, for the first time in 3 years, he got a 4% rate. Okay, and that can be significant, and not only home buying, but affects the rental market as well. And here's why. Home values in recent years, especially over the past couple of years through COVID, home values have gone up dramatically. Okay. And one thing that happens when home values go up so fast is it prices more and more people out of the buying market, right? Because you can sit there and you can afford you can afford, let's say, $800 mortgage, which equates to $100,000 home, for example. But if there are no more homes that are financeable at $100,000, you might be able to afford $100,000 more home, mortgage wise, but you can't afford a home, right? You may not be able to afford to compete. Okay, even if there's something, you can afford $100,000 home, and there's 20 people putting in an offer, and people are going in at 120, you don't have a chance, you don't have a chance, right? So what that's doing is it's pricing people out of the market, forcing them to continue renting. Now, let's throw rising rates. Okay, if someone was pre-approved for 3.25%. And then all of a sudden, by the time they started and by the time they actually find a home, it's 4%. Well, they're going to need to monitor that as they go along because they may not be able to afford it because as rates go up, affordability goes down. And again, just like home value is increasing, rate increasing will push more people out of the affordability standpoint and force them into renting. Okay. And over the past couple of years, the market has been very low inventory, been crazy, high demand. And as crazy as it has been, the rental market has been even crazier. Okay, last year I had a couple of people that said they had received over 100 people that wanted to apply for their place. There's just nothing available for people, right? And housing is essential. Okay, so that's going to continue to push rents up, right? Supply and demand. Also, rates going up will also directly affect rents because when it costs a landlord, if it costs a landlord $1,000 today, but you know, next month it costs them $1,200 a month. Well, guess what? Rents are going to go up. Okay, so that's how rising rates are going to affect the market. At least one dynamic, right? From an affordability standpoint. So one thing I would recommend is reach out to me. Okay, I'm not a pushy salesperson. If that's what you're afraid of, if you're afraid of reaching out because you think I'm going to push something upon you, I'm not a pushy salesperson. I am a fiduciary. That means I have to put your interests before all things. And I present you options. I present you all the facts and what you need to know. I put you in contact with those that you need to be in contact with. Even if you don't think you're going to want to buy, I urge you to speak with the loan officer. Okay, I have great loan officers you can speak with. See what you can afford just to have the option on the table. Okay, if you decide to rent, fine. Okay, worst case scenario, you've looked into it, you know your options, you've had your credit run. Okay, so it's going to help you move forward with trying to find a new apartment. Okay, one thing you can do from a tenant perspective is take the initiative, right? So when you're face to face with that potential landlord, you provide them your income statements. Okay, you provide them with your credit reports to show them. Okay, and take that initiative. Okay, believe me, as a landlord myself, that goes a long way. Okay, it's not an absolute. It does certainly help. It wouldn't hurt. Okay, so that's one dynamic there. It's going to create more demand for renting. Okay, home value, home costs are going to continue going up, which then so are rents. I've also been known to tell people that the big difference of when we get into retirement, right? When we're 70 years old, for example, and we're retired, and are we still paying $1,500 a month rent? Which, depending on how old you are, if you're 50 years old now and in 20 years, $1,500 rent is going to be maybe $2,000, right? $2,000 rent is a big difference. Is a big difference from maybe a $500 a month tax bill. Because when when you're retired, you have a mortgage-free house. All you're doing is paying taxes and insurance, or are you still paying rent? Okay, so there's a significant difference there. So that's one question. The other question is rents have gone up so much. When will it stop? So I kind of already touched on this a little bit, I guess. Everything is based off of supply and demand, right? And the no eviction moratorium, really, unfortunately, there was a lot of good intentions around that. Unfortunately, that has really created very low inventory. If there's one thing, and I don't know if I mentioned it, I wanted to make sure I mentioned that is that there's one thing that really that affordable housing really requires, and that is a constant flow of inventory, right? And when inventory gets eliminated, you don't have constant flow. Okay, and affordable housing is really, I mean, it's out the door right now. So supply and demand drives everything. Okay, you have rising rates. Okay, which means that the more mortgages cost on homes, the more homes are going to cost to rent. Okay, the only up in the air thing I personally am not quite sure how to really navigate through is the no eviction moratorium here in New York has ended. Okay, so there will be evictions upon the horizon. I'm just not quite sure how that's going to affect things. We'll see. I know that there are a lot of people who have gone now almost 2 years without rent, and they're burnt out, right? They've been financially slaughtered, and they're really struggling. And when they are able to get the tenant out, they have all intentions of fixing up the place and selling it and just saying goodbye. So what that's going to do is remove inventory from the rental market. Okay. So again, supply and demand, less supply, same amount of demand as if that's there or not. It's going to cost the current inventory to go up. So that's a real big question around that is I just don't know. We'll see, right? We'll see how many landlords fix up the place and get it rented out again. And even those that are going to rent out, keep in mind they're going to require, in most cases, 675, 700 credit score, especially in a rising rate environment, when more and more people are going to be priced out of the market, but yet they have a 675 or 700 credit score. That's going to allow the landlords the ability to rent out to people that have much higher credit scores, right? That's just a couple of things. I'm looking at my notes here. Um, you know, um, So yeah, I'm just looking at my notes. I think I touched on things. So in the end, the question was rents have gone up so much. When will it stop? Rents always go up. Housing is an inflationary play. As inflation goes up, so does housing. It's going to go up. I don't think that we're going to see the dramatic increases year over year as we've seen. Because we are going to start seeing some inventory hit the market, I believe. That's going to help relieve some of the stress on things. But we've had inventory issues for from even pre-pandemic, right? Pre-pandemic, just it was like steroids, right? It just blew it all up even more. So anyway, I wanted to thank you for being with me, listening in on this. I hope there was some good content that you're able to take some nuggets away from and help you learn. I'm always seeking to provide the best material that I can. If there's anything that you would like for me to talk on, please let me know. And soon I'm going to be having some guests on here, and I look forward to having them on. And anyway, until next time, I hope you make it a great day and stay healthy. I'm rooting for you, and cheers. Talk to you later.